Slow drivers, they're more common in F1 than you may think. Daddy may have paid a buttload of cash to get them where they are, or their talents just simply aren't suited for the world of Formula 1. Anyhow, they exist, and they can often be a slight pain in the crack to anyone else on the grid. If you've ever played a racing game, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. It doesn't even have to be that slow of a driver. More likely than anything, it's just a clueless 8-year-old whose brother just got called away from the game by his dad because he didn't take the chicken out of the freezer, and so now while he's receiving the greatest ass-whooping known to mankind, the little brother takes over. It's a tale as old as time. Anyway, since of course the little kid's brain cells probably can't communicate with each other very efficiently, what do you think he'll do on the game? You can bet your granny's life savings he's not winning, that's for sure. Anyway, like I said, slow drivers exist even in the so-called pinnacle of motorsport. But today we'll be looking at a time a slow driver met the fastest driver on the grid and tried to pull the mother of dumb overtakes. But first, we need a bit of a lesson in driver etiquette. You see, since F1 is a complete scam, and more often than not the car dictates more of a result than the drivers themselves, the FIA obviously had to take this into account. And so they cooked up the most beautiful rule in F1 history, the blue flag. Now if you're anything like me, then you've seen this beautiful flag waved at you in F1 games quite a bit. But why exactly is this old man waving a blue flag at me for? Is he secretly my biggest fan and knows blue is my favorite color? Or is he just taunting me because he doesn't like me? Well, actually, the answer is surprisingly neither. You see, when you drive like a 90-year-old man at 7 in the morning at rush hour against 19 of the quickest drivers on the planet, what's funny enough is that they actually pass you by and eventually come back around and give you a sniff and pass you again to make you feel like even more of a loser. Anyway, you could now become Macho Man and defend like your life depends on it, even though you're plumb last and your mom doesn't love you. Well, actually, as fun as that does sound, you can't really do that because of that blue flag we just talked about. You see, the faster driver now has the right to overtake you, give you the non-PG-13 finger, and drive into the sunset. But if you really wanted to piss them off, you know what you could do? That's right, give them a nice present at turn 1 by dive bombing from 13 kilometers behind. As a professional driver myself, I can tell you firsthand, this is gonna make their day. But it looks like what I'm saying right now is old advice, passed down for hundreds of generations by an ancient French philosopher. But no one had a strong enough will to act on this ancient proverb until this man right here showed up. At the Brazilian Grand Prix in 2018, one of, if not the most highly regarded racetracks on the F1 calendar, Esteban Ocon only managed to qualify 13th, putting in a lap just 0.03 of a second slower than teammate Sergio Perez's. In that Force India though, this wasn't a particularly bad place to start. Moving on to race day, all eyes were on the Ferraris and Mercedes in front to see who could lock out the Constructors' title. But in that mix was also a very quick Max Verstappen. Now this wasn't the Max Verstappen we know today. He didn't collect race wins like a kid does rocks on a walk home from school. That wasn't a very common occurrence for him at the time. But since the guy managed to fly by the usually much faster Ferraris and Mercedes ahead of him to take first place within the first half of the race, showed he was indeed the fastest man on track. But lo and behold, he managed to also get past Esteban Ocon as well. For a few seconds anyway, because Esteban remembered the ancient proverb at the perfect moment and sent a big one down at the Senna S. Max was on the outside going into the right turn when Ocon decided to sneak in and send this man back to the Netherlands. Of course though, with great risk comes great loss. I think that's what Uncle Ben told Peter Parker when he dropped him off in Las Vegas. Or did I watch the wrong movie? Anyway, that saying still applies here because while on the 14th podium position, Ocon sadly lost out because of this sneaky move. And even worse, Verstappen lost out on a basically guaranteed win. After the crash, Max held on to second place, but I don't know, maybe I'm jumping to conclusions, but something tells me he wasn't exactly thrilled with that outcome. Now, I personally want to thank Esteban for this act of bravery on lap 44 since it made that race weekend so much better. Not because I wanted to see Max or Esteban lose, no, but because of the welterweight bout in the paddock after the race. Come on man, let's bring these back. I miss seeing Schumacher going to whoop race control's ass for the atrocities committed in Belgium, or Nelson Piquet hitting the other guy for whatever reason. But just to clear things up guys, I don't like Nelson Piquet. He said some pretty dodgy things. I like seeing Nelson Piquet hit people. These are two very, very different things. Well, I guess what I'm trying to say here is if you somehow become an F1 driver one day and end up in a circumstance similar to Max and Esteban on lap 44 of the Brazilian Grand Prix, I don't know, maybe don't murder the race leader while trying to unlap yourself while you're on the 14th step of the podium. Or do it, but even harder, and cause more of a scene and make the race even more exciting. Yeah, no, I think the moral of the story is just don't do what Ocon did. It's kind of stupid. Anyway, that's about all I've got to say. If you did enjoy this video and want to see more of whatever this is, do like, subscribe, and even comment your own thoughts. But anyway, until next time, bye bye.